They told you that competence earns respect, that results speak for themselves, that if you just work hard enough, keep your head down and do excellent work, you'll be recognized. They lied. Right now, someone less skilled than you is getting the promotion. Someone with worse ideas is being heard in meetings while you're interrupted. Someone who produces half your results is being celebrated while you're being ignored. And you feel it, don't you? That slow, suffocating realization that the game was never about what you can do. It's about what they see you do. You've been operating under the most dangerous delusion in the hierarchy of power, that private excellence translates to public influence. It doesn't, it never has. And every day you believe this lie, you're bleeding authority to people who understand what Machiavelli deliberately concealed in The Prince, not out of ignorance but out of strategic omission. But what if I told you there's a shadow framework beneath Machiavelli's public teachings? A set of laws so effective at manufacturing perception that they were never written down explicitly, only practiced by those who understood that power is not taken, it's performed. In this video, you'll learn the 7 forbidden laws of public power, the mechanisms of social dominance that separate the competent from the crowned. These aren't the sanitized principles you've read about. These are the techniques used by everyone who's ever made you feel small in a room full of people. By the end, you won't just understand why you've been losing, you'll know exactly how to stop. Law 1, the law of strategic visibility. Always perform power in public, always conceal effort in private. Here's what Machiavelli wrote: "It is better to be feared than loved." Here's what he practiced but never wrote: "It is better to be seen being feared than to actually be fearsome." In 1503, Cesare Borgia wanted to pacify the Romagna region. He didn't personally execute dissidents in dark rooms. He hired Ramiro de Orco to brutally suppress rebellion, then had de Orco's body cut in half and displayed in the town square. Borgia was seen as both powerful and just for punishing the cruelty. The violence happened, but the performance of power was public, calculated, and separate. Psychological breakdown. The human brain processes witnessed action as 10x more significant than reported action. Your colleagues don't remember your all-nighters. They remember you presenting the final deck with calm authority. Modern application: stop announcing your hard work. Start staging your reveals. That project you completed, don't email it at 11 p.m. Send it at 9 a.m. with "Here's the framework I've developed," no mention of sleepless nights. Schedule your wins for maximum witness density: Monday meetings, public Slack channels, moments when decision makers are watching. Your competence is your currency. Public visibility is how you spend it. But visibility without the next law is just noise, and noise gets you ignored or worse, targeted. Law 2, the law of borrowed credibility. Speak with the authority of others until you have your own. Machiavelli advised princes to surround themselves with wise counselors, not for advice, but for association. In chapter 22 of The Prince, he writes about how a ruler's intelligence is judged first by the men he has around him. But here's the forbidden part: you don't need to be around powerful people, you need to speak through them. Psychological breakdown. Humans outsource credibility assessment to social proof. When you say, "I think we should pivot strategy," you're one voice. When you say, as discussed in McKinsey's latest report on market disruption, you're channeling institutional authority. Modern application. Before any presentation, meeting, or pitch, arm yourself with 3 citations. A recognized authority in your field. A recent study or data point. A historical precedent or framework. You're not sharing information, you're wearing borrowed armor. Peterson talks about this in Maps of Meaning. Green's 48 Laws explicitly warns against. Thiel mentioned in 0 to 1. Notice how the statement doesn't come from you anymore. It comes through you. And when people can't attack the source, they can't attack you. But here's where amateurs make a fatal mistake with Law 2. They oversight and expose themselves as hollow. That's why Law 3 exists. Law 3, the law of controlled mystery. Reveal competence in layers, never expose your full arsenal. In 1513, Machiavelli wrote The Prince while in exile, powerless, surveilled, forgotten. Yet he structured the text with deliberate gaps, contradictions, and cryptic advice. Scholars still debate his true intentions. Why? Because mystery creates obsession, clarity creates dismissal. The moment people believe they fully understand you, you become predictable, and predictable people are used, not respected. Psychological breakdown. The zygonic effect. The brain obsesses over incomplete information. When you answer every question, solve every problem immediately, and show all your cards, you become a tool. When you reveal expertise gradually, you become indispensable. Modern application: stop being the person who answers immediately in meetings. Pause, say, "That's a good question. Let me give you the framework I use for that." Then deliver half the answer. Create dependency loops. When someone asks for your process, give them step 1 and step 2. Withhold step 3 until they return, not out of malice, out of strategic positioning. You're not a vending machine of solutions. You're a source they need ongoing access to. Write this down: full transparency is professional suicide. And once you've mastered controlled mystery, you're ready for the most dangerous law, the one that separates manipulators from masters. But we need to lay one more foundation first. Law 4, the law of manufactured conflict. Create the problem to which you are the solution. This is where we enter truly dark territory. In 1502, Cesare Borgia faced rebellious condottieri, mercenary captains who threatened his power. He didn't wait for them to strike. He arranged a peace meeting, invited them to Senigallia under the promise of negotiation, and had them strangled the moment they entered. But here's the key: Borgia leaked intelligence that made them believe rebellion was their idea. He manufactured the conflict he wanted to solve. Psychological breakdown: humans worship problem solvers, not problem preventers. No one gets promoted for avoiding disasters. They get promoted for fixing visible crises. If there's no fire, no one notices you're holding water. Modern application: identify systemic inefficiencies in your organization. Don't fix them immediately. Let them surface publicly. Then position yourself as the architect of the solution. Example: you notice your team's project management system is chaotic. Don't quietly build a better one. In the next meeting, frame the chaos: "I've noticed we're losing about 8 hours per week on miscommunication around deliverables." Let that pain sit. Then, "I've been working on a framework that could solve this. Want me to demo it next week?" You're not creating harm. You're strategically timing visibility of problems you already know how to solve. But if you manufacture conflict without the next law, you'll be seen as the problem, not the solution. And that's a social execution you don't recover from. Law 5, the law of proxy warfare. Never attack directly, let perception do the violence. Machiavelli advised, never attempt to win by force what can be won by deception. But the deeper truth he practiced: you don't even need deception, you need suggestion. In Renaissance Italy, rulers didn't always assassinate rivals. They started whisper campaigns. They let reputation rot from within. By the time the target realized they were under attack, their credibility was already dead. Psychological breakdown: direct confrontation creates martyrs and forces people to choose sides. Indirect reputation warfare isolates targets without making you the villain. The narrative becomes everyone noticed rather than he said. Modern application: never publicly challenge a rival's idea. Instead, ask questions that expose its flaws. That's interesting. How would that scale if we doubled user volume? I like the direction. Have we considered the legal implications? Strong concept. What's the fallback if Q3 projections don't hold? You're not attacking, you're stress testing, but everyone in the room now associates their idea with risk. And when it fails and you've planted the seeds of doubt, no one remembers you predicted it. They just remember you were the careful one. This is proxy warfare. You're not holding the knife. You're making them bleed credibility through their own answers. Now we arrive at the law Machiavelli could never write explicitly, because it would have exposed the entire mechanism. This is Law 6, and it's the most uncomfortable truth in this video. Law 6, the law of selective loyalty. Demonstrate loyalty to power, not people. Here's what will get you hated. Machiavelli wrote that a prince should keep faith when it is to his advantage. But he buried the real instruction: loyalty is a performance for those who can elevate you, and a transaction with everyone else. In chapter 18, he describes the fox and the lion. The lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves. One must therefore be a fox to recognize traps and a lion to frighten wolves. Translation: you must appear loyal to survive but shift allegiance to ascend. Psychological breakdown: humans misallocate loyalty to peers when they should invest it upward and outward. Your coworker who's struggling is not your strategic ally, they're a sinking ship. Your manager who's rising is your vehicle. Modern application: audit your loyalty investment. TS, who are you defending in conversations? Who are you publicly associating with? If they're lateral colleagues with no upward trajectory, you're wasting political capital. Redirect energy. Align yourself with projects led by rising leaders. Echo the language and priorities of decision makers. When conflicts arise, side with authority, even when you privately disagree. This doesn't mean betrayal, it means strategic alignment. You're not abandoning principles, you're recognizing that principles without power are just expensive aesthetics. This is the law that makes you dangerous, because once you're willing to be strategically disloyal, you're no longer controllable. And that brings us to the final law, the one that governs all the others. Without this, everything collapses. With it, you become untouchable. Law 7, the law of emotional opacity. Show reactions strategically, feel nothing publicly. The most dangerous line Machiavelli ever wrote wasn't in The Prince, it was in private correspondence. I laugh at the world's folly. He felt deeply. He raged privately, but in public he was unreadable. Emotional transparency is a weapon your enemies hand you to use against yourself. Every time you show anger, you reveal a boundary. Every time you show hurt, you reveal a pressure point. Every time you show excitement, you reveal what you value, and value can be taken. Psychological breakdown. Mirror neurons cause humans to unconsciously mimic emotional states. When you're reactive, you're controllable. When you're opaque, you're unpredictable. And unpredictable people are too dangerous to manipulate casually. Modern application. Train your face and voice to default to neutral curiosity. Someone insults your work. Interesting perspective. What would you do differently? Someone challenges your authority. I appreciate the pushback. Let's explore that. Someone tries to provoke you. Silence, then redirect. Your internal emotional state is your business. Your external presentation is your strategy. When people can't read you, they can't position against you. They resort to either avoidance, removing an obstacle, or alliance, reducing uncertainty. Both serve you. This is the final law because it protects all the others. Without emotional opacity, your strategic visibility looks desperate. Your borrowed credibility looks insecure. Your controlled mystery looks manipulative. But behind a mask of calm authority, all of it looks like power. Let's return to where we started. Someone less skilled is getting ahead of you, but now you understand why. It was never about competence, it was about performed power, and you've been performing the wrong script. You've been operating in private excellence, the domain of the forgotten. You've been emotionally transparent, the domain of the controlled. You've been loyally lateral, the domain of the stagnant. Here's the shift. From this moment forward, you are no longer the person who does exceptional work. You are the person who demonstrates exceptional work in calculated, public, strategic moments. You are no longer the person who trusts that truth will surface. You are the person who architects which truths surface and when. You are no longer the person who reacts honestly. You are the person who curates reaction as a tool of positioning. This isn't about becoming fake. This is about recognizing that every social hierarchy, from Renaissance courts to modern boardrooms, rewards the perception of capability over the reality of it. And if you're already capable, refusing to manage perception isn't integrity, it's self-sabotage. Machiavelli wrote The Prince knowing it would be misunderstood by the many and recognized by the few. He embedded the real laws between the lines, not as secrets but as tests. If you couldn't see them, you weren't ready to use them. You've seen them now. In chapter 25, Machiavelli writes, "Fortune is the arbiter of half the things we do, leaving the other half to be controlled by ourselves." He's telling you the game is rigged, but it's not unwinnable. 50% is chaos, 50% is yours to command. These 7 laws are how you command your half. Law 1, strategic visibility, be seen, not just skilled. Law 2, borrowed credibility, speak through power until you are power. Law 3, controlled mystery, reveal in layers, never in full. Law 4, manufactured conflict, solve the problems you illuminate. Law 5, proxy warfare, let questions do the killing. Law 6, selective loyalty, align with trajectory, not nostalgia. Law 7, emotional opacity, feel everything, show nothing. If this resonates with the part of you that's tired of watching lesser players win, you know what to do. You are no longer the best-kept secret in the room. You are the force they can't ignore.